Hey guys, Mr. James here from the Kenai Community Library coming at you with a spooktacular Let's Draw. Today we are going to be tackling Frankenstein's monster. Super excited to draw Frankenstein's monster. Really gives us a chance to exaggerate some facial proportions and really have fun. And today we're also going to be coloring our image. So go ahead and grab some pencils, erasers, markers if you have them, and something maybe underneath your sheet of paper that you can put down so your markers don't bleed through. And go ahead and grab some colors. The colors we'll need today are a light green, a dark green, a black, a white, and a red. And they can be Crayola colored pencils, they could be Prismacolors, chalk pastels, whatever you might have to add a little bit of color to make our Frankenstein's monster come to life. All right, and we're going to go ahead and get started drawing our Frankenstein's monster. So much fun drawing monsters, partly because we have amazing latitude to kind of exaggerate proportions and things like that. And we're going to talk about proportions and all that here in just a second. So step number one, we're going to make this a very simple composition. We're not going to go very artistic, I guess, in a sense that we're just going to keep this a very straightforward portrait. So what I want you to do is just divide your paper that I have in a horizontal layout here. I want you just to divide it in half. So I'm just going to take my pencil and I'm just scribbling. You can probably barely see that at home, but I'm just scribbling a couple of lines right down the middle. I kind of like to scribble. We don't need to take our time on this, and I did it lightly. Now what we're going to do is a portrait today of Frankenstein's monster, and we are going to do it from the inside out, and then we're going to try and put some color to it. So what I want to do next is right here with my pencil marks going down, I'm going to put a little mark right here. I'm going to put another mark a little ways down. So this is about in the middle of the paper, pretty close to the middle of the paper right here. So I have this line dissecting where the face is going to go. Our image is going to be looking straight at us today. So I have a little mark right here. I'm going to put another little mark right about here. And another mark, I'm going to say right about here. So this is a little bit smaller than this. And the only reason that is because with Frankenstein, there's a pretty big distance from the bottom of his nose to his mouth. So these are kind of our eye line or our brow line, our nose, our mouth. So let's get started with some details. Step number one. I want us to go ahead and put right here on this little mark we have, I want to go ahead and put a little U shape above it. Just kind of maybe more of a real wide V shape. But you can see I put a little V right there, not that big. And this is the curvature of Frankenstein's nose right here. And we're going to have a lot of shadow, so I'm going to bring this down on each side, making a very, almost a real wide looking M. And then I'm going to bring that down like this. What is this? Well, this is the shadow below his nose. Let's go ahead and put in the nostrils of this very interesting shape, kind of hard to figure out. But I'm going to just put a little mark on this side, a little mark on this side, and then I'm going to bring it up because that was, now look at the angle I'm bringing it up. It's not quite the same angle as the earlier marks we made. It's a little bit, I would say, pointing more north or going more upward. And then I'm going to put just a little slope right here and a little mark. And this indicates the nose. So I have it going up. This is a little nostril. And that's really, right now, that's all we need to do for that nose. And we're going to come back to that here in just a second. But what I want to do, I have my little eye line right here. I guess I can go ahead and take this mark and go all the way up and curve it. I have a little reference that I had painted years ago to help me with this that I'm looking at off camera. And so I'm just going to take this line and go all the way up like that. And this will help in the end because we can kind of see it just hit that mark right there. And now I want to go ahead and add this brow line. And that brow line, I'm going to take it from about right I'm going to bring it from about right here, just putting a mark right here, and I'm going to just bring a curve going up, a curve going over, just like this, because Frankenstein has a pretty large brow over his eyes, and I'm going to bring this down. So you can see I have the nose in place, and this implies kind of that real big brow line of Frankenstein. Now what I want to do is bring this down on each side just a little bit here. Bring this side down a little bit. Fairly symmetrical right now is what it's looking like. I'm going to switch to a smaller marker here. And let's go ahead and add these eyes. Now, since I am left-handed, I want to add, since I'm right-handed, I want to add the left eye first, is what I meant to say. So I'm going to add the left eye first so that when I draw the right eye, I can look at the left eye as I'm drawing the right eye and can compare the two. So if you're right-handed, draw your left eye first. So to do that, I'm going to go straight out from this little mark that I had right here. It's just this little bitty, that first little mark I had, and I'm going to bring it out maybe just north of the nostril I have. I'm going to put a little mark right about there. And that'll help me with placement. I'm going to do the same thing on this side. It's going to be probably about right there. So I have these little marks. So now I know where I need to go, and I'm going to put a mark going over this way. And then I'm going to slope this down like that. So I have a mark going up, slope it down, and then I think that's a little too far in, so I'm going to bring this over about right here and come down. And then I want to connect this, so I'm going to bring this over. This is not your typical looking football-shaped eye because his eyes kind of have a droopiness to the eyelids. He's not quite opening his eye that wide. So I have it going up, a slope down, and it should form this kind of funny shape right here. And then we'll add our shadows. So now I want to do the same thing on this side. I'm going to bring this over because I think I brought it in just a little too far. So right about here. And again, kind of want to do the same thing. I'm going to go up with it, kind of like that eye. But now I can see it since I'm drawing the right eye now. And I'm going to bring this line slope down like this. And then I'm going to go ahead and bring in just this kind of curved edge all the way over like so. So our Frankenstein has these kind of really kind of saggy eyelids is what we want to do. Just to give him kind of that look of maybe a look of kind of being tired. And so to do this, what else I need to do is add our shadows under our brow lines. So I want to go ahead and put a little mark from up here, and I'm going to bring it down, mark, and then to make that eyelid, I'm going to come over with kind of a half circle like this. It looks a little funny right now, but when we fill all this in with shadow, which we can go ahead and do here, I'm going to do the same thing on this side. It's going to come down, get real close right here, and then come over and down. Just like that. So I have these kind of real hefty kind of brow, and these will get filled in dark. And I think right now is a pretty good time so we can see what we're doing. We're going to go ahead and fill these in. So take a moment at home and use your pencil and just fill these in real quick, just so we can see what's going on here. Sometimes it helps to kind of shade as you go, add a little bit of shadow as you go. And I think in this instance it will help. Like this. The next thing I want to do is go ahead and fill in this shadow underneath our nose so we can see what's going on here. this. Now for our eyes, it's really to make kind of those nice, I would say really kind of lethargic kind of eyes. We're going to add a little bit of shadow here, and a little bit of shadow here, and then a half circle right here. A little bit more of a half circle right there. And then just bring it over. And so all this is dark with a little half circle right here. Kind of fills in. We're going to do the same thing on this side. All this is dark. A little half circle right here. And then just kind of bring this over because it's kind of dark and shadowy here. Like that. So there's our eyeballs there for our Frankenstein. And now let's tackle our mouth and really add some details here. So for our mouth, it's actually a very simple mouth. We have our mark right here. So all we have to do to draw our mouth is just make kind of a upside down U shape. I'm going to bring this side down. And I'm going to bring this side down. Like that. So you can see how our face is starting to come alive right here. I'm going to make it a little bit heftier. Now look where I ended up. I kind of ended up, if I were to draw a straight line up, it's in the middle of the eye here, and it's in the middle of the eye here. And that's what you want. So you can erase if you need to try and get that look. And then I'm just going to make a little bit heftier at the top and bring it down a little bit narrower on the sides. Like so. Now what we can do to make it a little bit more Frankenstein's monster kind of feel is we can add some details right here. So I'm going to just add a little mark right here, maybe a mark going out like this, and then all kinds of those little wrinkles coming up. Because remember, we're drawing a monster today, so he's going to look a little wrinkly. Marks right here. Kind of like this. So I added these lines right here. Now we want to put a shadow underneath right here, which will help pop out that bottom lip. So I'm just going to put just a little mark right here underneath. And I think it would be helpful to add those lines from where our cheeks on our face come down, and I'm just going to bring it down like so. I'm going to do the same thing on this side. And you know what? This is starting to look like Frankenstein's monster. So next, since we have this here, let's add a few other lines. So right here on our eyes, we're going to pretend that there are some really big eye sockets here. So I'm going to draw a line that comes down like so. And another mark right here, and another mark. I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Like this, and another mark, and another mark. Just because our Frankenstein's monster has these kind of wrinkles under his eyes. You know, he's been kept up a little bit. He needs to catch up on his sleep. And so what I want to do next is bring a mark in here so that we can kind of imply that he's got high cheekbones. So I'm going to bring a mark like this. And I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Bring a line over here, looking at where that ends up. And I think it goes all the way to here. And I like those. So we have kind of the face coming out. We've got a good Frankenstein look. Let's go ahead and make that chin a little bit bigger. So I'm going to bring another mark right here. So far, so good. Starting to look like Frankenstein. And before I finish out the bottom jaw, let me round off the top and see if we can make this look a little bit more, because Frankenstein does have all kinds of things going on the top of his head. So let's see if we can add that. I'm going to put a mark about right here, and then kind of curving that down. I left a little space right there, and I kind of like that, so I'm going to keep that. Now I want to add a little mark just over this eye. Maybe this is where the hair line will be, and I'm going to bring that up right here. And I'm going to do the same thing. It's going to kind of come over, and I want to bring that, I would say, maybe about right here, where the hair would be. Just a little mark like this. And then it's going to go one higher here for the top of the head. I'm going to go up like this. One more higher on the top over here. And then bring it over. Now, this is exaggerated features here, and we haven't drawn the outer edge. We're working from the inside out, but right now I think the inside is working for me. So right here, let's go ahead and add a little bit of tufts of hair at the top of his head, and it's coming down. And now I can draw the outer part. I'm going to bring it over about right to here, and I think I want it to bring all the way down probably to about right in here. So to do that, I think this part will come over and down like we have it. Then the hair, and it's going to come just down to about right here and over like this. And now I want to add the outer part of this, since this is the hairline, and it's going to go over like this and then start to come out. And there's a little bit of wrinkles and some marks like so. So this is the outer edge of my Frankenstein's hair. On this side, I'm going to bring the hair over. And I'll bring it out a little bit further over here. And let's bring that down. And I think on this side, I'm going to have the hair on the inside come over to about right here, close to his eye. And then down. Make it even. And then his ear's going to be somewhere right in here. So we got to add our ears. And then I'll bring this up. So just like before. And then I'll bring this over. Maybe a little bit of hair here. Comes up. A little bit of hair. And there's our Frankenstein's hair on this side. We'll end up filling that in, but let's draw our ears first. So our ears, we want to kind of know what's going on here before we draw our ears. So I'm going to bring this over for the cheekbone and down. About right there. And I want to do the same thing on this side. We're going to bring this over. I do want to bring it down a little bit skinnier on this side. About right here. And we're going to draw that chin and our ears. So I think for here, we're going to bring this over, down like so. Same thing on this side. It's looking pretty good, looking like Frankenstein. And then we're going to go ahead and connect that chin. Like this. That does look a lot like Frankenstein. So let's do those ears. Now on this side, I'm going to go ahead and make the ear come up, over, down, and I'm going to make it, see how the ear itself is maybe even just a little above the nose, if we look at that. But the bottom of it, I want to be just about where the mouth ends. So I'm going to bring this mark over here and then curving that up. Give him a nice big ear. We're going to do the same thing on this side. Over, kind of end it in the same general spot right about here. And bring that over. Now you can tell that I've got a little bit more of this side showing. So he's got his head turned a little bit this way, and he's looking a little bit up. You can tell that from the angle of the nose there. But it's just a floating head we have here, and we want to add a neck. So I'm going to bring my neck down right about here. The thicker the neck, the more strength you'll portray in your figure. I'm going to bring my neck down here. So that's good. I'd say looks pretty strong there. And let's go ahead now and just put a couple of marks to fill in. Let's fill in our hair. And I'm going to put this real dark here. Like so. I'm going to bring that darkness all the way over on his hair. I'm going to fill in his hair on this side. starting to look like Frankenstein here. Let's add a couple of shadows here. So I'm going to put a little mark on this ear and maybe just a line going down and maybe just a little mark over here. Just a little mark to imply that, hey, there's some details of an ear going on inside there. Same thing on this side. Shadow over here because our sun is, or a light source rather, is usually from above. I'll put a little mark here and maybe just a little mark like that, just to imply that there's something going on here on this ear. Now there's details here that we need to add, and we have to ground our figure. One detail I wanted to add was just some electrical kind of things going on right here. So I'm going to put two electrical kind of, I'm going to call them like metal staples or something right there. I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Now, because I'm using markers, I can't erase, but you guys at home could. And if you wanted to, you can erase a little bit right there just to make those details look a little bit better. I'm going to put a little mark right there, kind of like that. Now let's go ahead and just add our neck here. And I think we have the neck in place, but we don't have the details of the neck. So let's add a little edge right here. Now I'm pretty far down. I'm not even with the chin, pretty far down, and I'm going to ground my figure going right off the page. I'm going to do the same thing on this side. And this Frankenstein's monster goes right off like this, the page. And then I want to add maybe some kind of coat line. So something like this where we've got a coat. Now this can all be dark, but rather than concentrate on filling all that in dark, I wanted to add these little electrical nodes because that's how Dr. Frankenstein reanimated this guy. And all I'm going to do is just put two little rectangles together, or kind of almost a little rectangle here and a little rectangle here. Do the same thing on this side. And that really helps our Frankenstein kind of look a little bit more like the monster. Now there's all kinds of great details we can add, but we're going to choose to add those with our colored pencils today. So I am just going to be using Crayola colored pencils. I don't want to use anything too fancy because I know not everyone has some really fancy Prismacolors or things of that sort, or chalk pastels. So I just want to show that we can really embellish our artwork with regular Crayola pencils. So to start off, I want to use my dark green color. So if you guys have any dark green Crayola colored pencils or Prismacolors or any colored pencil, you can use that first. So for the dark green, I do want to go ahead and add some kind of basic shadows here. So one is I'm going to go right under the nose like this and just make this kind of a dark shadow. And I'm going to bring that up. I'm kind of blending my marker now from dark and adding the green. And there's going to be a shadow under here, so I'm going to add a little bit of darks coming down right here. I kind of like that look. And that shadow goes all the way down like that. I want a shadow here. Here, all of this has already helped, and I want these shadows to come all the way down. I'm going to put a shadow here over the eyelid and bring this shadow over right here. Make all of this dark right here. I'm going to kind of lighten that a little bit right there. But I am going to do the same thing on this side. Finish this up here. Add a little bit of darks right here. Looks pretty nice. So you can see that the light source is hitting his nose. I want this shadow right here to come down. His mouth has a little cast shadow here because it's Frankenstein. So he's got a big chin. We're going to bring that shadow down. That's his nose shadow still coming all the way down. And I think we can get away with just embellishing these little wrinkles right here. I'm just adding a little shadow on each side. I'm going to add a little shadow right here. A little shadow on this side of these marks. And definitely got to darken right here. I'm going to bring that down almost as if all of this is kind of cast in a shadow right here. I'm liking that look right now. I think that works. We're going to add a little bit of color down here, color over here, make it somewhat symmetrical, and we're going to bring that over too. These high cheekbones really help. I'm going to bring a little bit of shadow above it just so it's not such a hard line. It's called softening the edge. So I'm going to soften that edge a little bit right there. Bring that down. Yeah, I'm liking the look of that. So we're going to make all the bottom of this ear in shadow, but leave the top and maybe a little bit of edge of the side there in the light. And we're going to do the same thing on this side. All of this in dark green. Really enjoying the way this is looking, so I'm kind of excited now to add my light green. So I have the light source coming from up top. And the only part on the top that we're going to make dark is I'm just going to kind of soften the edge of his hair just a little bit here. Just a little bit. Do the same thing on this side. Soften the edge of his hair just a little bit here. I think that helped a little bit. Like so. Now he would be casting a pretty big shadow down here. I think I'm going to go ahead and just use my black for that shadow. So I'm just going to put a little, I say little, actually a pretty big shadow right here. Fill that in. There we go, just like that. So we have that shadow in place. So now we want to switch over well, actually, I take that back. Let's go ahead and add that dark green right here. And I'm just going to fill that neck in with a dark green. I'm keeping my lines pretty close together when I'm filling this in, and my paper is fairly large, so I'm working somewhat fast here. But kind of like that. Now I'm going to use my light green to add some nice little variations in color on the edge. Now I'm going to leave some things pretty light, so I'm going to use my light green right here, but I want to leave just a couple little areas light. See how I left these little white areas? I think that helps a little bit here, so we're going to do that on this side. Oops, could have used a little darker green on this side here. And with these Crayola colors, you can always overlap your colors. So if you feel like, oh, I should have lightened that a little bit, you can take a white color and lighten that too. Or you can take an eraser and try and erase it a little bit. So now I'm going to take and just kind of lighten this a little bit. Bring that over. Maybe I'll bring this mark over like this. Kind of bring that over. I kind of want this a little bit dark in here. So I'm using my various colors here to add color to this Frankenstein. But you can see that I used my lights to make certain areas lighter. I'm going to bring a little bit, I want to leave a little bit of white right here because I'm going to have the light source really hitting his nose and making it a little shiny. Like this. And I want to do the same kind of thing over here, fading, and I'm pushing down harder when I'm closer to the dark, and I'm pushing down a little lighter just so that it appears a little lighter in color. It's really a lot of fun to use colored pencils, and pressure does make a difference when you use these. Leave this a little bit light right in here. Sun's kind of hitting this spot a little bit, or the moonlight, or whatever light source we're imagining that Frankenstein would be out in. Use this here. And then the last step here, I'm going to just kind of fill in this right here. All the way going up like this. And I really enjoy that it looks as though there's a lot of light. Whatever our light source might be, a street lamp, moonlight, is hitting his forehead because he has a pretty big forehead here to catch a lot of that light. You can see I'm just hitting the bottom edge of some of these, the top edge of some of these marks, in a sense shading the bottom little bump there to make that pop out a little bit more. So what I see here, the only thing I really want to do is soften this brow shadow here with the dark green. So I'm going to bring this dark green over just to soften this up a little bit. I think that really helped. If you guys were able to use markers today, using colored pencils over the top of the markers is really kind of a nice look. Now, the last step I want to do for my Frankenstein's monster is add a little bit of pink. Just because he's a monster doesn't mean he doesn't have a little bit of a hue coming. So I'm going to take my red and go right over the top of this. I'm going to pinkish his nose a little bit because I think sometimes it's really exciting to add a little bit of a reddish nose. You've probably seen that in illustrations before. So I'm going to do that right here and just kind of make his nose a little bit pink. And I'm going to bring that reddish hue down into his cheeks right here to offer a nice little reddish hue on his cheeks, just in the middle part of his face. And if you don't like the look of this, then you certainly don't have to add that reddish hue. Probably bring it all the way over here to the ears. So there's a little reddish hue to our Frankenstein. Final step would be to just add the details on our nodes here. Just our little, I'm going to put a little mark right here, a little mark right here. Kind of like this. I might take a black colored pencil just to fade this a little bit. So I'm just going to put a little fade here as if there's a shine. And then I'm just going to kind of fill this in with this black pencil just to offer a little bit of dark here. It just seems a little funny to leave that a light colored. So we're going to give him kind of a grayish coat here. And there we have it. I hope you guys really enjoyed drawing Frankenstein's monster with me today. I'm going to go ahead and sign my piece, and I'm going to sign it just discreetly on the side here. And I'll put the year. And there it is, complete. So have fun playing around with your colors. Add little color hues in there and really see what you can come up with. You guys have a wonderful day, and take care.